Hey, welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. 2 days in a row, I'm on early. I can't believe this. I'm trying to get into better lifestyle habits. For those of you that don't know about the channel, this channel is all about healing. So I too am on my healing journey. That's what makes a good healer. Healers are not taught, they're actually made through the life experiences that we get, right? So it's about healing the shadow aspects of ourself. So it's not just healing the psychological and the emotional wounds, but actually the physical, because your body is your mind's faithful servant. So our spiritual blocks are psychological and emotional, held in the body as stress. It's what determines our energy vibration. It's what makes us a magnet for who and what comes into our life. So we live karmic experiences where we're born into families. So we inherit family karma. We're born into societies. We inherit their karma as well. So the key is to unlearn karma, to transmute it, really, because you can't really get rid of it. What you do is you transmute it. And that is how you get rid of it, because it's energy. Everything in the world is energy, including you. So, like I said, your energy is made up of your psychological and emotional energies. And those are the energies that create karma, because that's the energy that tells us to do something, right? It's our actions, it's the end result. So people who continually get stuck in karmic loops, karmic cycles, it's the same theme. Different people, but the same story. So people that have wounds with betrayal, they play out. They play out in first maybe growing up in an environment where you feel like you're not safe, and then being in a relationship that mimics this same type of energy that activates your wounds. See, your wounds are subconscious. We no longer are aware. Our wounds are what we actually detach from. We dissociate from them. We reject them. They don't make us feel well. The energy is still present, though. So when healing, like I said, we don't just heal our mind, we heal the experience. And that means we actually have to go back into the experience to deal with the effects of psychic trauma, any trauma. But when I'm talking about problems within the relationship, problems within ourselves, how we view ourselves, I'm talking psychologically. So, and really psychological issues are are problematic, because your brain is what determines what your life is going to look like. So the key is to understand that as a spiritual being, you are born perfect. You're not here by mistake. You're here by God's design. You are the energy of God, which is unconditional love. It's our connection to each other. It's a connection to a person that you never met before, but there's instantaneous familiarity. It's felt as ESP. Like, I don't know how I know that, I just know. Again, that energy of unconditional love is when we're at ease, it's when we're at peace. That's when we can go with the flow of life, no matter what's going on in our life, because believe you me, we have no control over what goes on in our environment. So strength happens from within, and that means you have to integrate your wounds. And you can do that. You can transcend your mind, you can quantum jump into the reality that you want to experience. It's your own limitations that make you perceive you can't have something. Now, it doesn't mean that you didn't live an experience that taught you that level of consciousness, but there's many different levels of consciousness that play out at one time. Depending on your level of consciousness, which is how good you feel about yourself. You got to get yourself to a place of unconditional love. Raise your vibration by what you perceive about yourself, which means that you have to also go out into the world and create new experiences that are going to mirror back a different version of yourself so you can actually see yourself differently, because we can do shadow work all day long and you'll heal your mind, but then there's a detachment between your body and mind, and this is where anxiety comes from. And because we're trying to figure things out before we're in our minds. You can't figure things out beforehand. Only in the now do you get divine guidance. Be the clear conduit for spirit to speak. For the universe is what God is, and you have God inside of you, and you have the universe inside of you, because it's the same thing. And it's the energy of unconditional love. People that are prejudiced, people that have problems with, such rigid thinking, the spiritual realm has no boundaries. We put boundaries, we put perceptions, we put our own version and our own translation of what happens. And is it true? It's true for the person that experiences that reality. But is it true? No. A lot of times people are looking at life through distorted perceptions, which makes them take actions. And when they get really triggered, they don't realize that they're getting really triggered. They project their anger onto who's in their environment. So we're seeing more and more and more of this right now because there's a spiritual war happening. And the spiritual war is on consciousness, it's of the mind. So you have full control over your mind, but you have to get present. You have to get in the now. And the only way to really heal yourself, to not daydream all the time, daydreaming is a form of escapism. When we find that we're daydreaming, I'm not happy, I'm just somewhere else. It's detachment. People can live that way for long periods of time. Then they're living asleep, and then they're easily controlled, and then we're growing away from ourselves. So this is a channel all about integrating your spirit part of self with your physical part of self, so that the body, mind, and spirit work together, healing the effects of psychic trauma, healing the effects of trauma. It's a 3-part system. For anyone that is suffering, you want to definitely check out my subscriptions, $7.99 a month, $9.99 a month, $20 a month. You can't beat it. You get daily shadow healing, because I'm on this channel every day, and I will be on the channel several times a day. Right now, I'm trying to balance a lot of areas of my life. So, but the goal is, and I always make goals and I always achieve them because I show up for myself. So I know, again, like I said, my program is something that it works. And it works because you learn not just about healing your shadows and how to integrate them. You learn how to open your own psychic abilities, because healing and integrating your spiritual wounds turns to spiritual gifts. You raise your vibration. You get breath work. You get meditation. I mean, to be present and show up for yourself, these things might sound redundant, but to recondition the body and mind, to get strong within yourself so that you don't let your environment dictate your reality. See, the environment will show you certain aspects, and every single environment does so because they want you they want to stage it so that they benefit from your energy. And it's a marketing tool. It's just what it is. But you want to be strong within yourself. And the way that we're strong within ourselves is to get a better connection to the body. A lot of people are psychic, are intuitive, but they need healing. When we don't heal our blocks, and that's done by shadow work, and that's by actually revisiting the certain experiences. So this is why you need breath work. This is why you need meditation. This is why you need past life coaching, and why you need shadow coaching, inner child healing. Because I say it's inner child healing, it's shadow coaching, and it's to integrate. Otherwise, you can't heal. It's gotta be that. And it's not because like, hey, I want to force you to take all these things. And it's $7.99 a month. It's all included. Not that you're gonna learn breath work every time we meet. Sometimes it'll be breath work. Sometimes it will be EFT. Sometimes it'll be NLP. Sometimes it'll be meditation. Sometimes it will be breath work. It'll be different because one size doesn't fit all. We're all different. Just the same as in NLP, we learn that different people process information differently. Some people are more psychic. Some people are more clairsentient, feeling. So healing your trauma, you need to know your process. A lot of times, detachment from self. We weren't allowed to figure out our process. Growing up in environments that didn't allow you to have your process. Your process is the way that you learn, the way that you think, the way that you get ideas, the way that you find yourself. Someone says, that's not good. Do it this way. You want to be smart, do this, do that. And it grows us away from ourselves. And sometimes that's all it takes. So it wasn't all the time did a person grow up where they were beaten. However, people obviously that grew up with abuse, they may need a little bit more healing. They might, which means be more consistent. They really need to recondition their body and mind. And I'm going to leave that there. All important information about my subscriptions, about links, how to find me, my website, all important shit like that, including if you want to enter into winning a free reading with me, the rules will always be in the description box. And those rules will be like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write the word of the day. And the word of the day is omniscience. Omniscience. All right. Now, I always like to start off looking at the inner child wounds. Like, what's are you dealing with? Whether you're in a relationship, whether or not you're like dealing with something at work, what is the block? And the block comes from our wounds, and the wounds start with our inner child. Where it is, what are we being asked to look at? So this is going to be for any zodiac. You may feel like, well, it's not me, but I'm connected to someone. I have someone very heavy on my mind. No, sometimes that happens, believe it or not. I, for the longest time, would go and I would get readings, and I would get my husband's ex-wife's reading. And it was when we were engaged, and it was because she was so mad that we were getting married. Her thoughts were on me 24/7, to the point that I was getting, people would, and I knew it was her because she's not a likable person. And how the people were responding to me was that. So you can have energy transference where, maybe you're thinking about your person so much and nothing's going on in your life because you're just going to work, coming home, and it's kind of seem mundane, but your thoughts are so heavily on this person. And if this person is thinking about you equally, then you might feel like the energy is for them. And you might say, I want to know why this person's like being mean, or why they're acting the way that they are to me. So when you look at the inner child wounds, it's intended for you, however, whoever is tuning in. Okay, magical space, clearing time. So magical space and clearing time. So this talks about like kind of being a loner. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like kind of being a loner and needing to heal yourself. So you've always been quite psychic, quite intuitive, and which is a good thing as you get older, but a lot of times how we obtain our psychic ability is not through, studying and through fun. It's through living in survival mode. It's through not feeling good about ourselves. So what happens is a person that goes through trauma, they go inward, they internalize a lot. So when we're talking psychic, we're talking psyche of the mind. And like I said, this is magical space, clearing time. So inward is the magical space. Or magical space could also be in my imagination. It's in it's somewhere that's not really in the physical, and it's also like a place where you would go to heal. Like I said, to avoid trauma, we shut out the excess stimuli. So if you were a child, you grew up in an alcoholic family, there was a lot of screaming and yelling. If and for some of you that's what it was, and some of you it was there was an alcohol, but it was just a very imbalanced marriage that your parents had, which was overstimulating to you. So you went inward, and that was your magical space. However, and you have gifts because of that, but there's also imbalances because for wherever there's gifts that were developed because of it, it means that you weren't present, you weren't in the moment, you weren't finding yourself, you weren't grounded, don't have a good connection to the physical body. There's going to be imbalances when you have gifts that were created from living in that environment. Okay, so we'll look at more. So this is your wound. So this might mean that you're not as present as you should be. It might mean that right now your inner child wounds are that like you tend to like what we relied on to survive a lot of times hurts us. And it hurts us because life is always changing. So we have to be able to go with the flow of life. But every human being is a creature of habit. So this would also be a root chakra imbalance because a person that's up in their head all the time, they're in their third eye, they're in their crown, but are they in their body? Are they present or are they in the moment? Are they connected to the earth? Are they interactive in the earth? No, they're detached. They're dissociated. So this would also tell me that there would be like issues just with relationships at a young age where a person, little kid doesn't feel safe, doesn't feel comfortable. Again, root chakra imbalance. So we're seeing a lot just with that first inner child card. So this could be again you. And then or the person that you're dealing with, or you're a magnet of what comes into your life. So you might always attract people that are there, but not really there. Meaning like you feel like they're there, but like, they're not there emotionally for you. They're there, but they're not present. Okay. Love. Love. So, I mean, that says everything to me. Again, the inner child wound, and the inner child wound is love. Didn't feel like you got enough love. So from a very young age in childhood, you felt that you weren't loved. So that's a problem because that's why you would be inward. You didn't feel safe. You didn't feel supported. Children need to feel loved. And again, it doesn't mean that your parents didn't love you. The child self interprets through a child's lens. They're very sensitive. So a parent that has problems with their spouse isn't happy ever. It's not that they're not happy with the child. It could have been the perception. Is I'm not safe. I'm a bother. I'm not. So it's a wound, and we can see why getting into relationships would be a problem. We would see abandonment issues with blocks within feeling not lovable. Like escapism is really escapism because we don't feel good. And when we have wounds of abandonment or wounds of not feeling good enough or not lovable enough, it plays out as experiences that you show that you're inadequate. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. And then you attract experiences that may even shame you, because if we don't feel like we're lovable, we'll do anything for love. We might get in with the wrong people that give us attention. We might not recognize when someone's not authentic, especially if we're in our mind and we're not present. And that's what that said. So I don't like that wound, obviously. So let's look at another shadow. Wasting time. So again, you're too busy escaping from reality to succeed. So when a person gets older and they have childhood wounds, what happens is they have, and ones where they don't really feel lovable, then they definitely have intimacy problems, which is just trust. However, what they'll do is they have so much anxiety, and this just shows me that. So this could be you, or a person, like I said, that you're connected to, really thinking about, is really has these abandonment wounds of love, and they don't show up. They sabotage themselves with wasting too much time, procrastinating. So what it looks like is they don't care. So this could be you. If you, again, have these wounds where you don't feel like you're lovable enough, you're going to think that nothing's going to work out for you. So you're not really going to try as much. And a fear of rejection. You waste time, you procrastinate. People that love themselves doesn't mean that they do everything perfect. What they do is they show up. They show up. Mastery comes in doing. We're all David going up against Goliath. It's to be consistent. When you love yourself, you show up for yourself. This, again, the first wound here was inward, was magical place for clearing, intuitiveness, being psychic, but psychic because of trauma, because you didn't feel like you were loved. And so how does it play out? Well, you waste time. You're not grounded. So you might, within work or within trying to start something new, I feel like for some of you, you want to start something new, you waste a lot of time. You'll say, procrastination, I'll get to it tomorrow. Because there's a fear of not being good enough, because you don't feel loved. Understand, when we don't feel like we get enough love when we're growing up, then we're looking at the world through those distorted perceptions that no one likes us, that we're not good enough. So, again, you're a magnet of who and what comes into your life. What happens is when we don't feel loved, we tend to also overgive. And I feel like for a lot of you, that's what happens in your relationships. You overgive, you abandon yourself because you haven't created enough of yourself. Because when we don't feel like we're loved and we're too much up in our head, we're in our crown chakra, it means that there's a trauma. There's trauma. Hey, Wendy, yeah, see, I know that you know that's what happens. So I was like looking at whoever tunes in their wounds and then how they play out, like within job and within like relationship. And so it started, I don't know if you caught it, but it started off with, magical place, which was inside, like in the mind, and clearing. And so it was for healing, and it was like love. So the wound was not really feeling loved, not really feeling lovable. So again, then or good enough. It plays out as not good enough. And then, so we're up to looking at another wound, which is, so then what happens is if you waste a lot of time and then you don't really feel that great, it says here, like, you might try to make your life look better than it does. I'm trying to shade it where it doesn't sound so harsh, but it says lies and illusions. So when we waste a lot of time and we don't really feel lovable, the shadow part of self makes a mask, wears a mask, right? And so the mask is I don't want you to see that I feel that I'm unlovable. I don't want anyone to know that I don't love myself, because no one walks around saying I don't love myself. I don't love myself. They might, hold it within their posture. You might have to listen to certain words that they use, but like I said, a lot of times it's unconscious. So, but we're wearing a mask. So what happens is it's like we lie and we create illusions to make our life better, but it's mainly because we wasted a lot of time. I don't know if you see that. We wasted a lot of time. And so, and it's mainly because there's shame there. When we don't feel lovable, what happens is we'll do anything for love. And then what happens in that, we abandon ourselves. We don't realize that, and it just brings a lot of like sadness. So we have to clear the sadness. Again, we have to take each emotion and look at the emotion. When we're doing shadow healing, that's what we have to do. It's like healing an onion. We can't just ignore. So it all starts with you loving yourself, and that may be like where you don't let anyone disrespect you. Like if there's sorrow, that's because you're stuck in the past. If there's shame, it's because you have a perception about yourself that's not true. It's like there's many different realities that play at one time. If I choose to look at my reality from a certain perception, I'm going to look like a loser. But I can look at it through a different filter and see that I'm not a loser. Understand we get to choose. But that's okay, because listen, that you're looking at like, oh, my life is over. Even if you were, okay, I wasted time being in a relationship with someone that like was a liar and created illusions. So I always feel like I'm stuck in this shame energy, because we could look at it like that. And that's because I'm stuck in feeling sorry. And like I'm tired of being disrespected. So understand it starts with you, and it starts with how much energy you put into yourself. But those experiences that are bad can be easily transmuted. It's like that's knowledge that you learned. It's knowledge that you learned. And for all you know, Wendy, you could become the next relationship coach, where you were like, it all started with the fact that I didn't recognize that this person was disrespecting me. Because, they weren't really giving me enough time. They really weren't honoring me. So they always kind of kept me in this energy. And I was too comfortable in being in this energy. And I didn't even know that I was in this energy. So then Spirit says, so what would Wendy, because Wendy resonates, and anybody else that is tuned in, like have to do to heal? Is what we want to know. It's like how to heal the child self. What's the recommendation here? What is the recommendation here? What is happiness? It's when you're not alone. So there's a sense of like, again, you're feeling lonely, and part of this too is you will always feel lonely if you isolate, and you have to, even if you're around a lot of people and you don't like yourself. So it's about creating a new self. And so it is about joining with other people, but that's through clubs, that's through creating yourself. Take a class, something that you're interested in, because you need to recondition how, and realizing it was my parents. Well, that's what happens. It's we inherit family karma, like I said. A lot of times that's how this started. This story started with a young child that had is very psychic, but had to mainly go very inward to survive. And when I'm talking survive, I'm talking about clearing. I'm talking about clearing yourself in order to deal with trauma, right? Again, if you're like, and this was it. Magical space clearing time. Magical space clearing time is all when we go inward. So if you grew up that way, then Spirit's saying, hey, that was survival. So what we know is what worked for us to survive will hurt us later on, because life is always changing. We got to be able to go with the flow. And Spirit's saying you're not going with the flow. You're still trying to create the safety and keep creating the same thing where, again, like the person just didn't give, you wasted time, like you said, but who cares? A lot of people do that. They waste time looking for love, when meanwhile it's just an illusion and lies, because the number one spiritual law is God says, love me first, and that's by loving yourself first, because I live inside of you as spirit. So if you give to everybody else, you'll always come up short, and then you'll wind up feeling jealous, you'll get mad, there'll be an illusion that you missed out, there'll be an illusion that you should have did things this way, and you fall deeper and deeper and deeper into like feeling lonely, not liking yourself, when really it's abandonment. You can't do that. So, and for you, you went inward, and Spirit saying that's not why you're here. You're down here to give and receive of love. So that's got to be through your purpose. So joining things, it's like, first of all, you're alone. So even before creating a job, see, I was automatically like the me part of me, the that's was saying, oh well, you need to like join a club, and Spirit saying you're joining things to meet people, but through balance. You know, when you go to a club every week, you can go, or maybe it's once every other week or once a month. Relationships are something that happen over time. People that are interested in things, birds of a feather flock together. You meet people that resonate with your energy. And that's why they say, birds of a feather flock together, like goes to like. So when you do that, and then there's also a sense of needing to feel comfortable. And as I said in the beginning of this stream, it's not just about healing through understanding psychologically, but it's also like healing the emotional aspect that gets you the deep connections that need to happen, and need to get good feedback. When you take a class, you get good feedback, because everybody in the class is like, they want to see everyone wants to see everybody do well in a class, and you have people cheering you on. Everyone's kind of a little bit vulnerable, because it's just to invest in yourself, and you use what your wounds are to heal. So we might say, what else? You just need to come together and communicate. So what is the best way to avoid arguing? So maybe are you afraid to, like, well, I tend to trigger people. Maybe that might be like one of your wounds. So maybe you might want to take a class at Toastmasters, and maybe you want to, again, do some sort of self-help, because this is actually making it sound like you don't feel comfortable in your body. And I would say that's very common for people that go inward. People that have lived inward a lot and that's more in their day and grounded. Um, and that would be indigo child. That would be any empath, really. That would be any highly sensitive person, that any person that grew up in trauma. There's a lot of people out there that are not as grounded as they should. They're not as present as they should. We don't realize it, because, like I said, you can function on like utilizing like very little of your brain and very little bit of your energy. We don't want to do that. We want to use maximum of all. And maximum means that I get to see my situation from all different perceptions so I can make the right judgment call for myself. That I don't have to settle for like window number 2 when I realized that there was actually 7 different windows and actually not even a window, a whole new like castle. I would have picked the castle. You know what I mean? It's like what is that it's like when we come from a limited perception, so when we feel bad about ourselves. So number 1 that spirit's saying is you need to get your energy up. And that means find people. You want to find people that you resonate with. You want to feed yourself. You want to join things. So, because that's building that root chakra, because there's no real, you're an island and you're not supposed to be an island, because that's going to make you very vulnerable for anyone who comes into your life. And it's also going to seem like you're a little boring. I'm not going to lie. It's like you don't want that. You have to, again, like respect was what came out here. So understand, how do you continue the wound of not feeling loved? Well, it's, again, you gotta not disrespect yourself. You gotta, again, love yourself. And that would be to really like being grounded and connected and having a life. That's the most important, believe it or not. Because once you're comfortable and once you're balanced and feel supported, then you can kind of see things from a better perception. And then your actions are going to be more in alignment with your true self. You got to be comfortable. You're not even comfortable right now, so you can't even feel the divine inside, the God inside. And the God inside is what leads you when you're creating yourself. Otherwise, it can't happen. It's an unfoldment process. That spirit brings you people, situations, and experiences that will change you, that will mold you. You're not changing yourself. You're not moving yourself. But if you look for love outside because of how you grew up, you won't get it right now. And I'm not being mean, Wendy. It's like, could you meet someone that fell head over heels because they thought you were so attractive? Yes, but it would be built on lust then. And eventually that would bring pain, because, it doesn't stay in that energy. Why? Because the person sees you looking horrible sometimes, and life happens, and living everyday life, depending on how much you take care of yourself, is how great you're going to look and how great you're going to feel. So if you're not taking care of yourself now, just imagine being in a relationship with someone and dealing with their issues, their life, when you don't feel good about your own. It's like, it would also be like you dumping all your shit onto the other person, being like, hey, here it is, fix it. And you don't want that. It's like, because then you really get disrespected. And you're like, I didn't do anything wrong. If anything, I overloved, I overgave. Well, you overcompensated, and that it wouldn't be. So you would never really feel safe. See, counterfeit is lust. Counterfeit is instantaneous. What's real is, again, mastery, because it means how much heart you put into it. You don't need to be perfect, Wendy. You just gotta, it's how much heart you put into anything. It can't be a person, because God says, I'm the person that you're supposed to be giving it to, which is the universe, which is What are you contributing to the universe? How, like, what's, you are an expression of me, God says, and all I am is love, unconditional love, but it's your free will to channel this expression out any way you want to. And it's like, so you can't be in a place of, I'm not lovable. The spirit saying that was the wound. The support comes from the fact that I am the universe. I work through the universe to bring you the people, situations, experiences. So that's why Spirit said that's what really needs to happen before you even figure out, oh, what am I going to do? Because hanging out with people, they give you ideas, they show you different things. And it's not that you're copying. You're so not focused on it for once that you take your mind and put it somewhere else, and you allow that divine guidance to come in because you shut the fuck up for a second in your mind. Your mind just was like, oh, I was over here and we were all getting together to go to movie night or to the book club or to the plant club or dance night, and I got that divine guidance. I wasn't even thinking about it. And Spirit says, yeah, you let the universe show you support. But if you're up in your head, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, then there's no, God is a personal relationship. Having a personal relationship with the universe and God, which is the same thing, is having a relationship with unconditional love all the time. Just getting it through different avenues, through getting it through the people in your environment, through getting it through like whatever it is that you need help in, and being grounded. But if you're inward your mind, and this is how it started, then you're in this replaying these same karmic tapes over and over and over in your head, and you're never going to get what you want. And that's why you have anxiety, because you're like, I have a fear. Yeah, because your Holy Spirit, the God inside of you, is like, what the fuck are we doing, man? It's like, like what's happening? Why? And you're like, well, I'm just trying to figure things out. And Spirit's saying, you're not really supposed to be figuring things out. You're supposed to be living. And then the intuitive part of you is supposed to be leading you. Yes, do you have to learn analytical things? Yes, but you can learn those things. A monkey can learn those things. You can go into training, but if you feel good about yourself, it's a lot easier to learn because you're not in survival mode. If you don't feel inadequate about yourself, well, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be in a relationship, navigate your life, see opportunities, and evolve. When you're up in your head, it's a problem because you're going to grow further away from yourself because it's just wasting time. And that's like a procrastination. Like, I'm stuck in procrastination because I don't know what to do. And Spirit's saying it's like, just join things. It's again, first and foremost, about getting a strong root chakra, which is better connection to the physical body, better connection to the physical world. So, which is important because you gotta be strong within yourself. So that would mean meditation, breath work. You need to join one of my coaching programs. You need to recondition your body and mind. You need to show up for yourself. You need to show yourself that consistent love and recondition your nervous system. Because only in the now do you get divine guidance, gut, intuition, inner knowing. Let that Holy Spirit work through you. And now you're very sensitive. And this environment can't have the psychic abilities, the intuition, can't have that unless you grew up in survival. You grew up in survival. However, you need to recondition the fact that, again, your mind, you weren't able to find yourself, grow yourself, create yourself. So of course you would be depleted. You'd be like, well, I want love. I want a relationship. Who the fuck wouldn't? And it's about being grounded, being in the moment, and understand the healing tools help you recondition yourself. Because no one wants to do this shit. I mean, because healing doesn't feel good. I'm not gonna lie to you, Wendy. It's like it just doesn't. It doesn't feel good because again, it's comfortable to live in your mind. It's escapism. It's like we know when we're in a relationship with someone, and if you're like that, you're only gonna attract someone that's like that. And that's a relationship that's built on lust. That's a relationship that's not going to be deep, and then you're going to be like, people disrespect me, people hurt me. It's the same story, and then spirit's saying, well, the reason why is because look what you're doing. It's like to yourself. So that's why spirit said that you have to join things first. I would think that you would need a job first, but spirit's like, no, the girl needs again to better connection to the body and mind, and be more interactive in creating yourself, becoming yourself. Use the things that are in the physical world. This is a root chakra imbalance. So that would be the internet, Udemy. You don't know. Do you want to pay $1 million for a class? No. For that, you don't know what the hell you want to take? No. You want to try it. Remember, this is a stage of be like, childlike. What do children do? They pick up a toy for 5 minutes. They get to know it. I like it. They go to something else, and they go to something else. And then something sticks. It's like, this is you. Don't judge the process. It's a messy process. The second chakra, your second chakra wasn't really developed. And that means the solar plexus, you're not going to be in the now. You're not going to be in the moment. Gut, intuition, only in the now do you get that intuition. You're going to be in anxiety in your up in your head because you're not in your body. You got to let that Holy Spirit lead you to gut, intuition. So you're giving and receiving of love. You're finding what you love. You're becoming what you love. You're raising your vibration. No one can then disrespect you because you're having a good fucking time over here, loving yourself, giving yourself the energy that's the boundary for every single person that comes into your life. They don't make you feel good. Boop, they're out. And you're interactive in life all the time. So you're always meeting somebody. And so that's what needs to happen at this point for you. So the last archetype, and that would be mainly for anybody, by the way, that was struggling. They would have to, again, just invest in themselves if they really came from a place of not feeling like not loving themselves. It would not be to start an amazing job, think that you would get that amazing job, or even, think that you could totally be happy in that amazing job. It wouldn't happen because you're not at a high enough vibration. The same thing within relationship. If you begin to feel bad about yourself, the habits and behaviorisms, your habits and behaviorism in this story for anybody, and not just you, Wendy, but was procrastination. That's again a lack of groundedness. I'm up in my head trying to figure out. So it's about loving yourself, though. That was the deep wound. And the archetype really, again, this was, again, integrate the shadow attributes. I mean, that wasn't really helpful. But let's see, because there was a lot. That's why. So the main one, express soul, insights, and symbolic language. So this is saying almost like to invest your time into the spiritual arts. It like that you would do well in it, and that's anybody that's on here. So because I always believe healing and integrating yourself is actually becoming yourself. And if you're someone that feels, well, I'm not good at anything, I've had a lot of issues, problems, and I don't feel safe, you have to be on the spiritual journey anyway to heal yourself. But masters start as disasters. A poet takes their pain and they channel it, into beautiful works of art that touch people, that move people on a spiritual, emotional level. You have the power to do that. You have the power to do it, but you will channel it through your own way. A poet is someone that is just how I see is artistic. Some people are poets with words. Some people are poets with their actions. I did actually hear somebody actually reference that one way. Um, and I understand it because it's more of just letting your soul lead you. Leave yourself alone. No judgments of yourself, but you got to start where you are, and where you starting is to just invest in yourself and train yourself, heal yourself. And believe me, you may say, well, I want to do healing, but I don't know what kind, I don't know where to start. Believe me, eventually spirit will show you. That's the beauty when you release the need to control and you just go with the flow of life. We live in a society that doesn't teach us that. It teaches us to go off, get a job, figure it out. No one knows what they want to do when they're 16 years old. No one knows like what they want to do tomorrow, never mind what they want to do with the rest of their life. Especially at 16 years old. So we live in a society that's in balance with the way that it thinks, like it's unrealistic expectations. It's like you need to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life, and in order to buy a house, it's going to cost you around $800,000. Like, and you're going to start off making like $15 an hour. Like, I mean, anyone in their right mind would be like, I can't do it. Like, I'm doing the math right here. It doesn't work. It doesn't add up. And there's a lot of life experiences that will again, when you come from that level of consciousness, when you're the poet of your own life. And that's sometimes taking all your wounds here and integrating them. And that means going on your spiritual journey and first connecting to people, so you really get the support and the love. Then you really are able to come from a balanced place and choose the actions that you want, and to get the results that you want. Otherwise, it's never going to feel like you can do it. The key is to deal with stress and anxiety, because remember, you have trained your body to respond. So this is where the other healing modalities do come into place. All right, I'm going to run because I promised my husband I was going to go out. I will be on later and I will do a general message and I won't interrupt. I mean, I just love Wendy and other people that come on and pop on. So, like I said, I like to do that. But Wendy, you got to promise me that you're going to come back and you're going to do the work. You're going to tell me that you're enjoying something, that you're interactive in something, that you figured out something. It's baby steps, baby steps, right? Because it's all about integrating your wounds so you can see yourself differently. And just getting readings doesn't do it. It's actually the integration part comes in doing, because that's when you are co-creating with the universe. The universe conspires to bring you everything that you need that helps you shift your perception. I prepare you. I help you through integrating the wound, because it's like, oh, now I know I have awareness, but without grounding it, you won't. And that's for everyone. People tend to replay the same karmic experiences because they only heal the mind. All right, I'll see you all soon. I am going to take off. Bye.